Hi, I'm Bubbles and I'll be recording these tutorials for you all. Our first tutorial will be covering the basic techniques of Hive Style. For this tutorial I've adapted Majimellow's notes. I do not wish to take credit for any of the ideas presented in this particular video. Huge thanks to Majimellow for letting me use his notes. This discussion will be split up into 5 sections, with the first section being about the design process. Basically, this is the order in which you should place the colors. Magi's notes include 3 different styles of design: highlight, alt-highlight, and outline. Highlight is when you start with mid-tone and make a bar at the bottom using dark tone. You then add the light tone to the middle and the shading details and optional highlights. Alt-highlight starts out the same as highlight, but instead of making a dark tone bar, you're filling the middle with light tone. Then you finish the outline with dark tone and add your shading details and optional highlights. Finally, outline starts out with a light tone surface that you add mid-tone outline to. Then you finish that outline by adding the dark tone, and then add the shading details and optional highlights. The next section talks about the different styles of shading. There's the Zack style, Zack Plus style, Faubin style, and Faubin Plus style. Faubin style should be reserved for more elaborate projects, while Zack's can be used more casually. When making skins, I typically go with Zack's shading. Next, we'll talk about cuts. When you have a small surface, you can get away with having the entire center as light tone. However, when you have a big surface, say a 50 by 50 cube, you should cut it down the middle to break up all of the unused space. Now on to flats. Sharp and thin objects should be modeled as flat. These objects include, but are not limited to, swords, any kind of flimsy material, spikes, and crystals. Coral is another good example, but the notes didn't mention that. To make an object flat in Blockbench, just use the resize tool. Now on to some special cases. When you want to make hair, rather than modeling out full 3D hair, you should make it flat. This makes it look thin like real hair is. However, puffy hairstyles like afros can be modeled with 3D objects. When making arms and legs, instead of boxing off the different sections and texturing each face with Zack or Faubin style, apply cuts so that the skin doesn't feel blocky. Finally, we're going to end with some good advice. Nobody can teach everything. Magi couldn't, and I can't. Our job is to set you guys on the right track to learn Hive Style for yourself. So the last word of advice and the last part of Magi's notes is to study for yourself. Go into the Hive server and study their models. Try and find out why they shade certain things the way they do. Observe their techniques and store them in a mental notebook. That's the end of the notes, and therefore the end of the video. One last time, huge thank you to Majimellow for allowing me to convert these notes into a video tutorial. He doesn't really do Hive Style anymore, but he does make games, so I highly encourage you to go check him out.